What's a good song to sing? Any idea? Okay, I got one. Jaya Radha Madhava.
Yes.
Let's do that one.
Yes. Are you singing? Are you singing?
No, no.
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Gopi Jana Jaya
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nam Shrishtam Manamapi Sachiputra Matra Sarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupurim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhava Shyam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurun Tam Natosmi Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayati Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tishe Namaha Nityanandam Namastubhyam Prema Ananda Pradayane Kalo Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Namaha Ajanulambita Bhujo Kanakavadato Samkirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palo Bande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Shruto Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumadha Shrimad Ratnagar Simhasana Snow Shrimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Krishdalibhi Sevyamano Smarani Shriman Rasarasaramhi Vam Shivata Tataksitaha Karshana Venu Swanair Gopir Gopinata Shriyestinaha Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Takshai Kshiptascha Kamani Taranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Vrindai Tulsi Divyai Priyai Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavajai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Ashtotara Sata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipful beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Ashtotara Sata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Ashtotara Sata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Offer my Dandavat Pranams to all my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, and my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and to all the Vaishnavas. You turn that down 1 or 2 notches.
I think it's only 4 bars.
They still didn't adjust it. Okay. So, now we get to treat ourselves some more. Everyone likes treats, yes? This is the best treat, the best. There's nothing to compare with this treat. So, we're still reading the Venugita introduction. Probably we'll finish it today. But I'll just give a little review. Gurudev has quoted the all-important verses from Adi Leela, chapter 4, verses 231, beginning with that. There's actually 7 verses. These are the verses wherein Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he's expressing his hesitancy. Why that he should tell all of these confidential topics. Right? You remember that? How he was expressing? How can I do this? This is not fit to be disclosed. But then he came to the conclusion, which actually this introduction is based upon these verses here. This is the defense that Gurudev utilized. And he utilized it continually throughout all of his 15 years of traveling the world. That what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says is the fact. Yes. That these things should not be spoken to unqualified persons. But yet, it will happen that unqualified persons will be hearing these things. But what then happens? What occurs? What occurs? That they're hearing these things in any assembly, especially if they're in the assembly of a Mahabhagwat, a Vraj Rasik Vaishnava. What happens? Actually, they can't enter. The nature of the topic is such that those who are not qualified, they cannot understand and they cannot enter. When Gurudev spoke, he was mainly speaking to who? Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas. Practicing Vaishnavas. Both Indian and Western. That's who he was speaking to. The whole crowd. Who else was he speaking to? Vaishnavas who had come from all across the globe to attend what? Brajmandala Parikrama, Kartik month, doing austerities, trying to please Krishna, trying to relish and taste the nectar of Harikatha in the holy places, about the holy places. This is not an ordinary group of people. Okay, then you say, well, that's fine. That's in India during Kartik and Navadvip Parikrama time and so forth. But what about the rest of the world? Also, Gurudev's festivals were mainly what? Mainly, they were spoken for. Actually, the target audience of Gurudev was who? Can't hear you. Prabhupada's disciples, but also, at that point in time, there were many senior devotees who had come just after Prabhupada and had been practicing already. That was like 96. Prabhupada had departed 20 years before. So newcomers also were his target, but they're not exactly new. Gurudev wanted to give the substance. He wanted to give the essence. And he took help from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to be very encouraged about doing that. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has said that what could be a source of joy greater than this? That yes, I am hesitant to disclose, but those who are not qualified cannot enter, and therefore I am rejoicing. And now I will give this. Alright, so then the verse Anugrahaya Bhaktana, which is at the end of the 33rd chapter, 10th canto, and one of the final verses, which summarizes Sri Krishna's descent into this world. This is after describing the entire Rasa Leela. And Sukadeva Goswami is telling, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam Manusam Deham Ashtita Bhajate Tadrishi Krida Yakshudva Tatparo Bhavet. This means, in order to bestow mercy upon the devotees, as well as the conditioned souls, Bhagavan Sri Krishna manifests his human-like form and pastimes, and performs such extraordinary pastimes, Rasa Leela in parentheses, that anyone who hears them becomes exclusively devoted unto him. This is our praman. Why did Krishna come to this world? Does he have to come? Does the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Supreme Source of everything, does he have to come to this world? Is he forced, like regular conditioned souls? No, he's not at all. He is coming out of his own free will to do what? Give mercy. To give mercy. Because if he did not come to this world, who would ever know the form of the Supreme Absolute Truth? We know that the majority of the upadharmas that are existing in this world, they're not actually complete dharma, they're called upadharma. Sub-religions, Christianity, Jewish, Buddhist, all of these, they're sub-religions. They're not actually dharma per se. But they have no conception of the form of God. And therefore, because they dominate in this world, practically no one on the planet knows what God looks like. And therefore they can very easily be, what? Bamboozled by the modern scientists. There ain't no God. Or the bogus philosophers, God is dead. Huh? No. Or what to speak of Mayavadis. God has no form. You are all God. All of you are God. All of these absolutely absurd so-called philosophies. They lack any real knowledge. So Sri Krishna in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam has now demonstrated to the entire universe, here I am. You want to see God? Here I am. And for those in the future who come, you can also see me, because I already taught you how you can come to me, how you can come to see me. And I've even given you the greatest assistance that anyone could ever give by displaying my pastimes, because my pastimes are so full of power to attract the hearts of the jivas. If they hear my pastimes, yes, bhajate tadrishi krida yakshritva tatparo bhavet. Tatparo bhavet means they will become completely intent upon me. Yakshritva, by hearing my pastimes. So this is the highest subject matter, the highest topic for discussion in human society. Name, form, qualities, pastimes. And that's why Rupa Goswami has said in the 8th verse of Sri Upadeshamrita, Tad nama rupa charitadi sukirtanam. Rupa, nam, rupa, charita, adi. That means beginning with the name, then the form, then the qualities, then the pastimes, the entourage, paraphernalia, dhamma, everything. We know the absolute truth. Everyone else doesn't know. We can stand up on any podium, anywhere throughout the whole world. Doesn't matter what country, if they would give us an opportunity to speak to the whole masses of people. And we can make an open declaration. We are the only ones. People become very wary when they hear that. Anyone that says, we're the only ones, we're the only ones. No, it's a fact. We means who? Those who have heard from the Vedas, through the disciplic succession, and have especially studied Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially studied 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the association of pure Vaishnavas. We are in that category. You can also come and be in that category. We invite you to. But right now, you ain't in that category. And we are. So now, we have the evidence right here. You want to hear it? We can also prove to you. Srila Prabhupada always used to say like that. We can prove to you there is God. This is not a theoretical subject matter. I was just reading Srila Prabhupada last night. How he's telling. It is a fact. There's no doubt about it. There is a controller. There is some kind of power. Or no, actually it was Srila Gurudev in his lecture I was reading. There is an absolute controller. Oh, I don't believe that there's any controller. Really? Do you see that shiny object in the sky? Isn't that the most amazing thing? That this little shiny object that rises in the morning in the east and sets in the west, every single day of our life, exactly on time, to the second, and can be calculated millions of years. Yeah. Who put it there? That shiny object in the sky, it diffuses very important rays of light and heat. But not just light and heat. Those rays are so nourishing that every single creature, every single living being, every plant, every animal, all are depending on the sun rays. And you will have nothing to eat unless the sun rays came. Who made that arrangement? Yes. It is a fact. There is a controller. And then Gurudev says, and it is a fact that that controller is a person. Is a person. Not impersonal. Otherwise, why are there so many persons? We all learned this philosophy when we first became devotees, and we preached it on the street innumerable times and everywhere. But it remains to be the single most provable and important fact. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is the complete, final contribution of the Supreme Absolute Truth, that He came to this planet, and we can calculate exactly when He came, exactly how many years ago, according to His astrological calculation. And He came out of His desire to give anugraha, mercy, to the bhaktas. But we already studied that manusham deham astita. We also heard yesterday, or the other day, that He appears for all living entities, not only for the bhaktas. So, Bhavet kriya vidilin se iha koi. In this verse, Bhavet, the word Bhavet, is in the imperative mood. Therefore, this certainly must be done, and to not do so would be a discrepancy. So that means one must hear it and then become intent. Tatparo Bhavet. Then Gurudev said, for the information of the reader, I'm referring here to Srila Jiva Goswami's Vaishnava Toshani commentary on that verse. Now, in his Bhagavatam commentary, known as Bhavarta Deepika, Srila Sridhar Swami has written that what to speak of the devotees, even materialistic persons, are freed from their material absorption by hearing the Lord's pastimes. And thus they become exclusively fixed upon Him. Is that not amazing? Even ordinary materialistic persons, they become freed from their material absorption by hearing the Lord's pastimes. And then they become exclusively fixed upon Him. That's what happened to us. Then, now we're coming to another, this is where we left off. I'm reading this again. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this verse in his commentary known as Sarartha Darshani. And what is being quoted here is what Srila Gurudev is highlighting in his introduction. He says, the Lord performs varieties of pastimes to show favor to His devotees. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Coming in the human form of life, living entities who hear these pastimes become exclusively devoted unto the Lord. In other words, they develop firm faith in hearing the narrations of the Lord's activities. What more shall I say about the importance of hearing about Krishna's pastimes? And this Ras Leela, being fully imbued with Madhurya Rasa, it is eminently distinguished even from the Lord's other pastimes. Then he gives the example of three different objects: a jewel, a mantra, and a powerful medicine. He says, just like these three, this Ras Leela is endowed with such indisputable, astonishing potency that by hearing it, all persons in the human form become devoted to the Supreme Lord. And therefore, all varieties of devotees who hear the descriptions of these pastimes will become successful, and they will obtain supreme pleasure. Can there be any doubt about this? He says. So, a jewel, a mantra, and a powerful medicine. these three examples being given by Vishwanath Chakravarti, Gurudev will explain that a bit more. But we should understand why he's choosing these three items. Because they all have an action that becomes automatically performed even without the person having knowledge. If you put a jewel on your finger, why people in India especially, they like to protect themselves by different amulets and jewels and all that. Why? Why? We'll ask our astrologer in the room here.
Well, they mitigate the bad influences of planets.
Yes. The jewels do. Well, how does that happen? How does that occur? How can a little jewel act on a planet? Come on.
Because a big planet acts on a little being here. That's where the rays are transmuted by a jewel corresponding to a planet.
Okay.
So like for the sun, you have bad influence, the sun ruby will transmute it to a good influence.
See? But does the wearer have to understand the technology? Not at all. All he has to do is put it on. That's all. Now we come to the other one. A jewel and a mantra. The example is used that people can actually visibly see. Snake charming mantra. There are people. Gurudev used to tell this story about how there are people who absolutely they know mantras, and he witnessed it, and many people in India have witnessed it, that they know how to chant this mantra, and the snake becomes charmed with that mantra. Sound vibration. You don't have to know how it does it, but it does it. So mantra, and we know the greatest of all mantras, can completely transform. What is that? Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purnak Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinatvam Nama Namano. Name and the person being named identical. So then he uses a powerful medicine. We've all had the experience probably going to Ayurvedic doctors because we're here in India and we're in this movement, so we know that there are specific medicines that will act for your specific condition. And an expert Ayurvedic doctor can prescribe that, and when you take that medicine, you get the result. Simple. So here he's using that and he's saying that in the same way, like these three, this Ras Leela is endowed with such indisputable, astonishing potency that by hearing it, all persons in the human form become devoted to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all varieties of devotees, all varieties of devotees, all varieties of devotees who hear the descriptions of these pastimes will become successful and obtain supreme pleasure. Can there be any doubt about this? So, now, Gurudev is saying, also we may cite the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-30. Again, it's from the final shlokas after the Ras Leela description has been there. And here's the all-important shloka that gives a prohibition. Here's a prohibition. Naitat samacharej jatu manasapi hi anishvara vinashyatya charan modhyad yatha rudrod bijam visham. Now, you know this shloka? This is where a warning is being given. Very stern warning. By who? By Shukadeva Goswami. He's saying, in other words, those who are not the Supreme Lord, that means everyone, right? Those who are not Ishwara, Anishwara they are. Ishwara means Supreme Controller. Anishwara means you're not a controller. So, those who are not the Supreme Lord, and thus being not the Supreme Lord, who are powerless and who are subjected to karma, they should never imitate the Lord's pastimes, even within their minds. Stern warning. And what will happen? Sukadeva Goswami says what will happen. He says, if anyone foolishly imitates Lord Shiva by drinking the poison generated from the ocean, he will certainly be destroyed. But what happened to Lord Shiva when he drank the poison from the ocean? He drank all the poison. We don't even know how much poison there was, but there was a lot of poison. He took it in his hands and he drank it. Right? But you know what? He didn't want to allow it to go down below his throat. Why? Yeah, because the Supreme Lord, in the form of Paramatma, the Super Soul, is there within the heart. And because Lord Shiva is the greatest of all Vaishnavas, he did not want to subject the Lord to the effects of poison. Of course, that's with the understanding that the Lord, he should be served by us like that. We should protect him from the poison. This is the mood of bhakti. So, but Lord Shiva, what happened to Lord Shiva? He kept it in his throat, and his throat then became bluish color. Very nice bluish color. Like a decoration. Huh? But if you try to drink poison, bye-bye. For good, bye-bye. So, Srila Prabhupada also used to use this example to give people warnings that Lord Shiva also sometimes smokes ganja. But if you try to do it, what will happen? You will be calling death very near. So now this is the warning being given. Don't even dare to dream in your mind of imitating the Lord's pastimes. Why is he giving this warning? Because people will do that. We know the story of this one, what was his name? Vishaksena. Yes, in Orissa. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the supreme magistrate at that time. And this character, such a rascal. I mean, the use of the word rascal, Srila Prabhupada, this is like 1,000 times worse rascal than the ordinary rascals. He was advertising to everyone that he's Bhagavan. And now on the next coming full moon night, he's going to dance with all the village girls in the whole area. And he's going to do the rasa dance. What happened? Many people complained. Because people in India, there's a lot of Vaishnavas, especially there in Orissa. You don't do such a thing. Advertise, now I'm going to dance rasa dance. Come on, come all the beautiful girls from all the villages, come and dance with me, because I'm Bhagavan. Huh? No, but he did. He's a foolish rascal. Bhaktivinoda Thakur came there with his, what was called, like the police force. He had the police force with him. And this guy was a yogi. He had some mystic powers, actually. And fire used to come out of his head, so people were, oh, he must be Bhagavan. No. Fire is not proof that you're Bhagavan. Show me your universal form, dear Bhagavan. There's a lot of other ways to prove that you're Bhagavan, but just playing some magic does not prove anything. There are so many yogis. Some yogis can float on water. But does that mean they're Bhagavan? No. So anyway, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, being the most powerful, great Vaishnava Acharya, he came there and they took him into custody by force. Then they brought him back to the jail and they stuck him in the jail. Right? And now he was going to be tried and condemned. So now what did he start to do? He started to try to play his mystic powers on Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his family. And some got a little bit sick. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you know what he did? He read Srimad Bhagavatam. Non-stop. Srimad Bhagavatam. Nothing could touch him. Then this character, he started to fast. And his point was that he's just going to fast until death. And that's what he did. Fasted until death. Coward. So, that's why Shukadeva Goswami is giving this warning. Don't even think about it. What to speak of talking about it. Yeah. Did he? I don't remember. Did they shave his head right in the beginning when he came? Yeah. Because the yogis keep their powers somehow in their hair. That's why they're sai. That's why big mop top. They keep their powers in their hair. But these persons will be condemned in their next life. Now.
And it still goes on today.
Sorry?
It still goes on today, these imposters.
Yeah, is there a more recent one that you can cite?
There's one in Orissa.
Right now, at this time.
Yeah, and then what
He's doing the same thing, advertising.
Yeah. And what about the one in Vrindavan?
Huh?
Maharaj also
Okay.
claims to be Bhagavan and does
Yeah.
cross and stuff.
I remember our Srila Prabhupada. No one can be as classic as Srila Prabhupada. There was one character, Guru Maharaj Ji, right? He came in the early 70s to America. And apparently he said he was 13, but actually he was more like 20 years old. And he claimed to be Bhagavan. He's actually advertising that he's God in America. And there's a whole stadium with people, and he's sitting up there in the stadium, and sitting on a big throne, right? So they told Prabhupada about this character. You know what Prabhupada said? Okay, if he is Bhagavan, then I will kick on his face and I will urinate on his face. Let him stop me if he's Bhagavan. Yes. That's our prayer. Srila Prabhupada ki. Yes.
When I was pregnant with my daughter,
Yeah.
Guru Maharaj and his wife used to go to the same natural childbirth doctor as me in Oklahoma City.
What an honor.
But if he's gone, he's got to go to a natural childbirth doctor. And, so,
Did you meet him there?
yeah, I saw him in the next room across.
Did you tell him what Prabhupada told?
And at the end, he had his picture and his wife was showing, and when they had their faces, it just stuck up with all the other people, his wife and baby. Just like an ordinary mundane.
Yeah, of course. Because that's all he is. And that's his whole purpose in coming was to get money, money, money.
And he had a big house in Malibu.
Of course, money, money, money. All of them. Money, fame, prestishta.
His
Yes.
wife was just like a young, blonde, surfer type.
Yes, of course. That's why he's coming to America. Yes. Okay.
So,
So,
he had a daughter.
yeah. Okay. Now, the gist of Srila Jiva Goswami's and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries, the gist on this verse is that living entities who are subservient to the material body and who are anishwara, they are bereft of the controlling potency of the Supreme Lord. They should never behave in such a way as to imitate the Lord. What to speak of actually transgressing religious codes, as the Lord seems to do in His pastimes, one should not entertain even the desire to do so. The word samacharan means behavior, samacharan, in this verse. When this word is divided into its constituent parts, samyak and acharan, samacharan, this signifies complete behavior. Here it has been used to indicate total prohibition of such activity. Total prohibition. Therefore, the purport is that such behavior should not be adopted even to the slightest extent. What to speak of performing such activities through speech or the senses, one should not even mentally conceive of such activities for oneself. The word he in this verse, he indicates that this certainly must not be done. He. If one were to behave in that way, he would be completely destroyed. The significance of the word modyad, stupidity, modyad means stupidity, is that if anyone, being ignorant of the Lord's omnipotence and his own incompetence, if he foolishly adopts such behavior, he will be utterly ruined. Such as if anyone other than Lord Shiva were to foolishly consume deadly poison. Instantaneously he would be killed. But Lord Shiva, in spite of drinking poison, is not destroyed. To the contrary, he attains even greater fame and splendor as Nilakanta, he whose throat turned blue from drinking poison. Now here in this verse, imitation of such behavior has been prohibited. Yet, in the verse already cited, Yakshritva Tatparo Bhavet, that verse, it is evident that not only devotees, but even others who faithfully hear these pastimes will become fully devoted to the Supreme Lord. This has been further explained in the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. So both of these two verses are stating very profoundly that you must do this, you must not do this. So, now we come to the all-time classic shloka, wherein Shukadeva Goswami has given the final declaration. 10:33-39. Vikriditam vrajavadubiridam cha Vishnu Shradhan vito nushnuyad atavarnayedya Bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya kamam hridrogamashu apahinoti achirena dira. It's good to learn this verse. Everyone should learn this shloka. Repeat after me. Vikriditam. Vikriditam. Vrajavadubir. Idam cha Vishnu. Shradhan vito. Anushrinu Atavarnayed. Ya. Bhaktim param. Bhagavati pratilabhya kamam hridrogam ashu apahinoti achirena dira vikriditam vrajavadubir vikriditam vrajavadubir idam cha Vishnu Shradhan vito anushanuyad Atavarnayedya Bhaktim param bhagavati Pratilabhya kamam Hridrogam ashu. Apahinoti acharena dira. Apahinoti acharena dira. A sober person. Please repeat. A sober person. Who in the beginning faithfully and continuously hears from his Guru the narrations of Sri Krishna's unprecedented rasa dance with the young brides of Braja, the gopis, and then later describes those pastimes. Very soon attains para bhakti, or prem bhakti, for the Supreme Lord, and thus becomes competent to quickly dispel the heart disease of lust. So, here Srila Jiva Goswami comments in the Vaishnava Toshani that having concluded the narration of the Ras Leela, Shukadeva Goswami became deeply immersed in spiritual ecstasy. Did you hear that? Shukadeva Goswami was like overwhelmed in ecstasy when he spoke this verse. So therefore we should learn this verse. This is the conclusion. He became deeply immersed in spiritual ecstasy, Jiva Goswami says. In this verse he describes the fruits of hearing and chanting the Ras Leela, and thus he benedicts all future listeners and reciters. Those who incessantly and faithfully anushinuyad, that means with faith, shraddhan vitam, incessantly and faithfully, those who incessantly and faithfully hear Krishna's Ras Leela with the young brides of Braja. What are the two adjectives? Incessantly and faithfully. What are they?
Incessantly and faithfully.
That means always. Incessant. Always hearing. So those who incessantly and faithfully hear Sri Krishna's Ras Leela with the young brides of Braja, and then later repeat those pastimes, quickly attain para bhakti, that means supreme bhakti, toward Bhagavan, Sri Krishna. And thus, they relinquish the heart disease of lust. Yes, here it is. No one can deny this. Here the word Shraddhanvita means to hear with firm faith. That's the criterion. Not that you just hear and then you have your doubts and then how can this be true? Or this is immoral, we don't want to hear about this, we'd rather hear about Lord Vishnu, or whatever attitude you have. No. Shraddhanvita means that you must hear with firm faith. Firm faith in what? Gurudev explained that this person, Krishna, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're not like him. He's not like us. That firm, absolute faith must be there. And you know what? It can be there even in your first days. In your first days of coming to the Krishna consciousness movement, you can have such faith. I remember. I did. I had no objections. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says, I am the absolute truth. From me everything comes. Okay? So, if you have faith, and you're chanting Krishna's names all the time, you're chanting Krishna's names, then what happens? Here's what happens if you hear about the Ras Leela with firm faith. So this word has been used to prevent the offense that results from mistrust or disregard of the statements of the Shastras. This word has been used to prevent the offense that results from mistrust or disregard of the statements of the Shastra. Such negative temperament is in complete opposition to the principle of hearing with faith. What negative temperament? To mistrust that this is a fact. Or to disregard, I don't believe these statements of the Shastra, I don't believe that. This is in complete opposition to the principle of hearing with faith. It has also been used to promote, the word Shraddhanvita has been used to promote constant hearing. By its use, the importance of hearing has been pointed out. The words Ata Varnayed, what does that mean? Ata Varnayed indicate that after continuously hearing the Ras Leela, along with other special pastimes, then one will personally describe those pastimes. This is the other part of it. Hearing and then describing. And by indirect implication, it is further indicated that after hearing and reciting, one will also remember those pastimes. Yes, and take great delight in them. So hearing, chanting, remembering. In other words, hearing, chanting, remembering, experiencing delight, and so on, they are all implied by the words Shraddhanvita, Anushanuyad, Atavarnayed. To hear repeatedly, with faith, and then describe. Now the word parabhakti in this verse. Parabhakti. Everyone say parabhakti. That means supreme devotion. Parabhakti. Not ordinary bhakti. Parabhakti. This means bhakti which follows in the wake of the gopis of Braja. That is the ultimate parabhakti. Bhakti that follows in the wake of the gopis of Braja. Did you know that about this verse? That's what it's talking about. Therefore, the bhakti, the distinctive characteristics of prema, so pratilabhya, obtained, and parabhakti, prema bhakti. This indicates that first, now here's the key. Here's the key. Mark this. This is the argument. Mark this very carefully. What do these two words indicate? Pratilabhya and parabhakti. This indicates that first parabhakti is obtained within the heart, displaying all its unending varieties at every moment. We all just heard. What is parabhakti? It means prema bhakti in the wake of the gopis of Braja. And thereafter, after that comes into the heart, then one quickly gives up the heart disease of lust. Not vice versa, which most people are saying. This is clearly there. This is Jiva Goswami's commentary. He's explaining. The meaning of this verse is that if you have Shraddha, Shraddhanvita, Anushanuyad, and you're hearing from the proper source, Atavarnayedya, and you're also repeating that. Bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya. Then this will come first of all. in that order, in that sequence. First, Parabhakti will come in the heart, and then after, Hridrogam Ashu Apahinoti Acharena Dira. Then the disease of lust in the heart will be destroyed. Now, the difference between Kam, here in this way, in this context, Kam, it means material lust. So the difference between Kam, material lust, as a disease of the heart, and Kam, spiritual love in relationship to the Supreme Lord, is made clear. Yes? The difference is made very clear. These two forms of Kam are quite distinct from each other. The word Kam here indirectly implies that all diseases of the heart will quickly be dispelled by spiritual love. Real Kam. In Bhagavad Gita 18:54, it is said, one who is situated in the transcendental position, beyond the contamination of the three modes of material nature, who is fully satisfied in the self, who neither laments nor hankers for anything, and who looks impartially upon all living beings, he attains parabhakti to me. Krishna says that. Verse 54, 18. What's the Sanskrit to that verse? Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Na Sochati Na Kamshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. Krishna uses the word parabhakti there. Now, why is that being cited here? In this verse from Gita, it is said that one attains parabhakti only after the disappearance of the diseases of the heart. You get that? Because he says, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Here's the qualifications for someone to attain my parabhakti. Krishna is telling that. And he has to be situated in the transcendental position. Brahma Bhuta position, realizes he's not this body. And Prasanatma, he becomes unagitated, very, very satisfied. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, na shochati na kamshati, not lamenting, not desiring anything. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu, he sees all living entities equally. Then Krishna says, if a person has that, mad bhaktim labate param, he attains my supreme bhakti. So this is being cited because it appears that quite the opposite is being told. Now Gurudev is going to fully clarify this. So in this verse from Gita, it is said that one attains parabhakti only after the disappearance of the diseases of the heart. But yet in the Srimad Bhagavatam verse quoted above, it is said that one attains parabhakti even before their departure. So consequently, it is understood that hearing and chanting of Ras Leela is one of the most powerful forms of spiritual practice. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur discusses the same verse in his Sarartha Darshani commentary. The prefix anu, repeatedly or methodically, prefix anu is there. We know this word anu. Because why? Because we've been drilled on the verse by Gurudev, endlessly drilled on the verse. Which verse? Sunya Jnana Karmadi Navrita Anu Kulyena Krishna Anu Shilanam. Then what? Anu Shilanam. I'm forgetting now because I separated it. Anukulyena Krishnana Shilanam Bhakti Ruttama. And also, in the 8th shloka of Upadeshamrita, Anu, Anu, Anu. Remember that 8th shloka? How does that start? Tannama Rupa Charitari Sukirtan Anu. Tannama Rupa Charitari Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasiniyojya Chishtan Braje Tad Anu Ragi Jana Anu. So 3 times in that verse. In the Anyavilashita Shunyam verse 2 times. Anu Anu. Now Gurudev is explaining, what does that mean? So, the prefix anu, which means repeatedly or methodically, when applied to shrunuyat, that means to hear, it indicates constant hearing. Shadhanvito anu shrunuyat. Constant hearing. By continuously hearing from the lips of the Shravan Guru and the Vaishnavas, and then thereafter reciting, narrating, or describing these pastimes in poetry of one's own composition, one attains parabhakti. That bhakti which is of the nature of praying. After hearing instructions from the Shravan Guru, the person from whom one hears about the fundamental truths of Bhagavan, that's the Shravan Guru. Okay, Shravan Guru is being mentioned here. It means the person from whom one hears about the fundamental truths of Bhagavan. So after hearing instructions from the Shravan Guru, a desire may arise to engage in bhajan. Now the suffix KTVA, 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 ktva. It has been used in the formation of the verb pratilabhya, which means obtained. And it is used in this way. Prati plus lab plus ktva. Okay? Prati, lab, ktva. Gurudev is breaking down this word pratilabhya. So, these 3 parts, there is the suffix ktva. According to the rules of Sanskrit grammar, when the suffix ktva is applied to a verbal root with a prefix, it is replaced by yap. Okay, this I don't expect you to remember this. But the letter yap, Y-A-P, the letter pa, P, is dropped. So it becomes pratilabhya. Okay. So the letter P is dropped, and thus the final form of the word pratilabhya is obtained. Why is this important to understand this? Because the suffix tva is applied to the first of 2 verbs performed by the same agent. Oh boy, this gets a little complex here. The suffix tva is applied to the first of 2 verbs performed by the same agent to show successive action. In other words, having attained prema, he relinquishes all lusty desires of the heart. So there's a succession here. So exacting. And how our acharyas show us that each and every word, each and every syllable of every word has very deep meaning in the context of what is being stated. Now in this case of this word, the first action is pratilabhya. That means the attainment of prema. And then the second action is apahinoti, the renunciation of the lusty desires of the heart. So here we've been hearing various shlokas, various examples, and various explanations by our acharyas. So therefore, it is said that therefore the suffix ktva in the verb pratilabhya it indicates that although lust and other evils still remain within the heart, although they still remain in the heart, lust and other evils, prema bhakti first enters the heart, and by its extraordinary influence destroys all vices to the root. In other words, hearing and reciting Ras Leela possesses such astonishing power that the lust in the heart of the faithful sadhak is destroyed and he attains prema. Though these two take place simultaneously, okay? Actually, these two are taking place simultaneously. What two? So, though these two take place simultaneously, the influence of prema manifests first, and then, through its effect, all lusty desires of the heart are dissipated. Sign me up. I want this. Sign me up. What?
If one thing goes down as the other thing's going up.
Yes, it's happening simultaneously. You can give your attempt to give an analogy and an example. But this is quite inconceivable, actually. Why? Because prema is inconceivable. The influence of prema is inconceivable. Right? And the power of Ras Leela is inconceivable. So we should be very happy that Gurudev is making this so crystal clear that even if someone tries to quote the verse from the Bhagavad Gita, hey, wait a minute, you're not telling what Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Brahmabhuta Prasanna, you first of all have to become purified, and then you get prema bhakti. No. Why? Because we're talking about Ras Leela. This is not ordinary. Not ordinary. This is what we should get from this. To understand how extraordinary, how elevated, how supercharged with transcendental power, mercy, everything Ras Leela is. And therefore it can have such an effect on the heart. Now, listen to this. Thus, as a result of hearing and chanting the narrations of the Lord's pastimes, one first attains prema for the Lord's lotus feet, and thereafter one's heart is liberated from lusty desires and all other contamination. Thus, one becomes perfectly pure because prema is not feeble. This is another important point. What does feeble mean? That means like an old man becomes very feeble, weak. Prema is not feeble. This is the reason why. Thus one becomes perfectly pure because prema is not feeble like the processes of jnana, impersonal jnana, or even yoga, ashtanga yoga. Bhakti is all-powerful and supremely independent. The words hridroga, kama, hridroga, kama. This indicate that the difference between lusty desires of the heart and the calm in relation to the Supreme Lord. Hridroga, kama. This is what it's indicating, that there's a huge difference between the lusty desires of the heart, hridroga, and the calm that is in relation to the Supreme Lord. Calm, which is in relation to the Supreme Lord, is of the very nature of the nectar of prema, whereas the lusty desires of the heart are exactly the opposite. And therefore, these two attitudes are distinct from each other. This is substantiated by the use of the words hridroga kama. That's why it comes in that sequence. Now the word dhira, because you know, that's the last word in that verse. Achirena dhira. What does dhira mean? Do we have another verse that says dhira means sober? Why the English word sober is used? Why? Because the conditioned souls are absolutely mada. Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Mada means they're completely intoxicated with material desires, lust, everything. So, the word dhira means pandit. Pandit. Or one who is learned in the scriptures. One who refuses to accept the claim of this verse and who thinks, this is how he thinks, quote, as long as the disease of lust remains in the heart, prema cannot be obtained. So one who refuses to accept the claim of this verse, and he thinks like that, that person is said to possess an atheistic temperament. Atheistic temperament. One who is free of such a foolish, nihilistic mentality, he is known as a pandit, or a sober person, dhira. And consequently, only those who have firm faith in the Shastra are known as dhira. No one else. You want to become dhira? Firm faith in Shastra. Those who have no faith in the statements, what? Well, yeah, but here is including the others as well, sure. But it's being applied specifically in terms of Ras Leela and Rasa Shastras. So, consequently, only those who have firm faith in the Shastra are known as dhira. And those who have no faith in the statements of the Shastras are atheists, and they are offenders to the holy name. Such persons can never attain prema. Consequently, in the hearts of the sadhaks who firmly believe in the statements of the Shastra, faith arises. Faith arises by hearing Ras Leela and other narrations. Only in the hearts of such faithful devotees does prema manifest its influence as a result of hearing narrations of Krishna's activities. Only in their hearts. Therefore, lust and all evils present within the hearts of the devotees are destroyed to the root. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 10:47-59, it is also relevant to this discussion. There it is stated that that bhakti is the only cause of superior qualities found in any individual. Did you hear that? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that it is stated that bhakti is the only cause of superior qualities found in any individual. Anyone. There is no other cause of any superior qualities being found in any individual except for the presence of bhakti. That's all. Only bhakti. Austerities, tapasya, austerity, learning, gyan. All of these are full of pride and arrogance, actually. Austerities, learning, knowledge, and so on, they are not the cause of superior qualities. Although bhakti is itself of the highest excellence, it does not appear only in the most exceptional individuals who are endowed with all good qualities. On the contrary, it may manifest or remain even in the most condemned and vile persons. Wow. I just have to think for a moment about this statement. This is so extreme. How many times have we heard Gurudev tell basically this? How many times, huh? No one else preached like that. Gurudev did. And he said it again and again and again and again. What did he say? Bhakti can manifest or remain even in the most condemned and vile persons. Remember Srila Gurudev's beautiful examples that he gave. Princess Di. Remember her? Some of you are too young to even remember who she is. So, she was the princess of Wales, loved by everybody all over the world. And Gurudev was using this example. I think it came from Gurudev himself. He made up this example. You know? And what was the example going to show? That greed to have something is not, what's the word? It is not limited to being present only in someone that has qualification. Right? Greed arises spontaneously and naturally, and the greed can come even in a very, very ordinary person. Right? So now what's the example? Here comes the parade, the royal family, on their royal chariots, and there's millions of people watching because it's a broadcast on the television all over the world, and Princess Di just got married. To who? Charlie. So, and now the people are lining the streets, right? They're lining the streets to get a glimpse at this historic moment, right? And there's all different types of individuals, but there's one man in particular who's just like a very ordinary citizen, and Gurudev didn't tell anything more about that person, just that he's just an ordinary citizen. But he sees how beautiful is Princess Di as she's coming by in the chariot. Look at how beautiful she is. And then he starts to think, I would also like to have her as my wife. Now, isn't that completely absurd to think like that? You're thinking something that is so outlandishly impossible, why you should even allow a thought like that to come into your mind. But still, he thinks, oh, I would like to have her as my wife. Not someone like her. He's actually thinking, I'd like to have her as my wife. So Gurudev said, this is greed. It cannot be restrained. It cannot be restrained by any external consideration. It is normal and natural. And what's the second example? The poor man on the street in India. Because only in India you have, well, in the West you have a kind of picture windows, and then you have the cakes and things being displayed in another window, what do you call it, cabinets that are cooled and everything. But in India, it's right there in front of you. And why do they do that? So that everyone's mouth will start to water, and they'll walk inside the door and say, how much is that one? And that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. Right? So now, there's a Daridra. Daridra. Poor man. He ain't got no paisa. in his pocket. Nothing. Zero. So he looks at all those sweets, and what happens? His mouth starts to water. What's that an indication of? You're getting ready to eat. But that's not possible for him, because he doesn't have the qualification. He doesn't have the paisa. So he cannot eat that. But yet, his mouth starts watering. Now can a person stand next to him and say, hey, what are you doing? Get away. Go away. You have no paisa. Well, you cannot have your mouth watering. No, he can do. No one can stop him. He might not be able to get that sweet unless some person takes pity upon him. So, in the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, it is stated that bhakti is the only cause of superior qualities found in any individual. Austerities, learning, knowledge, so they are not the cause of superior qualities. Although bhakti is itself of the highest excellence, it does not appear only in the most exceptional individuals who are endowed with all good qualities. On the contrary, it may manifest or remain even in the most condemned and vile persons. And furthermore, it causes thoroughly wretched and fallen persons to attain all good qualities, to become worthy of the respect of all, and to attain the highest and the most rare association. So for this reason, the opinion that Bhakti Devi enters the heart only after all the base propensities and desires, anarthas, offenses, lust and other diseases of the heart have been eradicated, this opinion is not appropriate. Is not appropriate. On the contrary, by the mercy of the Supreme Lord or the devotees, or by faithfully executing sadhana and bhajan, daily practices of worshipping and meditating on the Lord to achieve love of Krishna. That's in parentheses, sadhana and bhajan. So he's saying, by the mercy of the Supreme Lord or the devotees, or by faithfully executing sadhana and bhajan, this rare bhakti enters the heart first. And then all unwanted tendencies are automatically dissipated. This conclusion is thoroughly agreeable. So therefore, this is the end of the introduction. Therefore, faithful sadhaks with firm belief in the statements of Shastra, Guru and Vaishnavas, they are eligible to hear the narrations from Srimad Bhagavatam, which are saturated with nectar. And those who believe that only sadhaks who are completely free from all anarthas are eligible to hear the above-mentioned pastimes, they will neither become free from anarthas nor obtain eligibility to hear even after millions of births. Even after millions of births. And here's the last paragraph. Another point to consider is that if this argument is accepted, then we sadhaks who are still affected by anarthas, although possessing faith, could never read or hear the sacred books of Rasik Gaudiya Vaishnavacharyas, like Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. If this argument was accepted, you understand the point that's being made here? That only when you become free from those, then you can hear? Then he says, the sadhaks, we sadhaks, who are still affected by anarthas, although possessing faith, could never read or hear the sacred books of the Rasik Vaishnavacharyas. No, can't. This means that we would be forever deprived of the extremely confidential and elevated truths of bhakti expressed by these acharyas. there would be no possibility that the sprout of greed for Raganuga Bhakti would ever be awakened in our hearts. We would be forever cheated of that which was not previously given, the Prem Ras of the most munificent Sri Sachi Nandan. He who bestows Krishna Prem. We'd be forever cheated. You want to be cheated? Then don't believe such statements. So, what then would distinguish the Sri Gaudiya Vaishnavas who have taken shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Vaishnavas of other disciplic lines? And a third point to consider. Oh, I was scrolling. There's one more verse being quoted. Okay. The third point. No. Another point to consider. No, that we just read. Okay. A third point to consider is this. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 8, verse 70. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Kritam api kutopi labhyate Tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam Janma koti sukritair na labhyate. Here the words lolyam api mulyam ekalam. This means that indeed the only price is greed. Lolyam. This indicates that this supremely rare greed cannot be aroused even by pious activities accumulated over millions and millions of births. Then how can this greed be obtained? The words Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati, they indicate one whose intelligence or whose perception has been awakened toward Krishna Bhakti Rasa, whose intelligence and perception has been awakened toward Krishna Bhakti Rasa, the nectar-filled loving service to Krishna. Here, the implication is that by faithfully hearing the narrations of Sri Krishna's pastimes, saturated with rasa from the lips of Rasik Vaishnavas in whom Krishna Bhakti Rasa has arisen, or by faithfully and attentively studying the literatures related to the pastimes of Sri Krishna composed by them, this greed may be obtained. And besides this, there is no other means. And some maintain, yes, okay, now we're at the end. Some maintain that at present no sadhak exists who is completely free from anarthas, and that therefore no one is eligible, nor in the future will anyone be eligible. This argument is completely illogical. Freedom from lust and all other anarthas in and of itself is not the qualification for entrance into Raganuga Bhakti. On the contrary, greed awakened towards the Lord's madhurya, His sweetness, is the sole qualification for entrance into Raganuga Bhakti. Nor is there any certainty that by routine observance of the limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti alone, that greed toward Raganuga Bhakti will automatically awaken. They think like that. They. I won't say who. They think like that. No, forget Raganuga Bhakti. No. No, just do this, because then automatically the greed is going to awaken. No. What does Gurudev say about that? There is no evidence of this anywhere. What does he say? There is no what? Evidence of this anywhere. Anywhere. We don't have to try to undergo a study. Is there any evidence anywhere? No. They've already concluded that. So, therefore, our highest obligation is to follow the purport of the commentaries of the previous acharyas to the above-mentioned verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So now Gurudev ends and he says, it is by the inspiration of His divine grace, Srila Gurupada Padma Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Sata Sri Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, and the repeated solicitation of many bumblebee-like devotees that I am presenting Sri Venu Gita to the readers, along with the purport to the commentaries of Srila Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Jiva Goswami, named Sar Artha Darshani and Sri Vaishnava Toshani respectively. And by reading this subject with full faith, the greed to enter into Raganuga Bhakti will certainly sprout in the hearts of the faithful devotees. This itself is the very purpose of human life. And having expounded upon every point, I end the discussion here, praying for a drop of mercy from Sri Guru and Vaishnavas, Sri Dandi Bhikshu, Sri Bhakti Vedanta, Narayan, Gaur Premanandi. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Srila Gurudev Venu Geet Introduction ki jai. Sri Ras Panchadhyay ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Any objections? Any objections? Now you all heard this. Now you have to do it. Yes? Yes. So,
there is one small question.
Okay. From you or one of them?
No.
Okay.
There is one shloka, I don't understand. It said, I think Bhakti Samhita Sindhu. It said that how Krishna can be situated in the heart if there is such thing as lust, envy, greed, and how Buddha can enter this heart.
Yeah.
So it's quite also the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, because that shloka by Rupa Goswami, he's giving that shloka to point out they can't be there at the same time. Krishna himself wants to come into your heart. But if there is all of these other, what is that? It says fear, anger, lust. Shoka Marshad, yes. Akranta, yes. So, but that is not discussing the methodology. Now the methodology is here. And again, we will refer to the 5 shlokas, but especially the first 2 shlokas of the 2nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, wherein it is told there, Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna. By hearing about Krishna, what happens? Krishna, in the form of the Harikatha, comes and cleans your heart. That's how it will happen. But don't think that if you're overwhelmed by lust, anger, greed, all of this, that Krishna himself is going to come and sit in your heart. No. Krishna will come. That's why the whole pastime of Gundicha Marjana is shown by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That your heart has to be completely clean. Then Krishna will come and sit in the heart. But this is talking about bhakti. Okay? And bhakti is the means through which it is going to happen. Okay? But don't ever be under this misconception that I can be angry and full of all kinds of lust and this and that, and then Krishna will still come and sit in my heart. The Sahajiya, Prakriti Sahajiyas, they think this. This is their misconception.
So first, Bhakti comes, then
Yes.
Krishna comes and sits.
Yes. Yes. Okay. All right, so Mahaprasadam is waiting, but first we'll hear the holy names of Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare
Shri Nityananda Mahajana ki jai, Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Shri Navadvip Dhama ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Vrindai Tulsidevai Priyai Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namah Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Namo Namaha.